What do St. Vincent de Paul, Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, and Mother Teresa have in common? These three saints teach us that communion with Jesus in the Eucharist must lead to deeper communion with all those loved by the Lord, specifically the poor. The Church teaches that we have an option or a preference for the poor and vulnerable. What does this look like? Pope Francis has been happy to demonstrate. Dressed as a simple priest, he likes to slip out of the Vatican to care for the homeless of Rome. The Pope has built both a shower facility and a barber shop for the homeless. He invited 200 homeless to dinner at the Vatican. The guests were served by the finest chefs, serenaded with music, and each left with a gift. Pope Francis even told the cardinal in charge of distributions to the poor, "You can sell your desk. You don't need it. You need to get out of the Vatican. Don't wait for people to come ringing. You need to go out and look for the poor." And Pope Francis puts life into perspective when he asks, how can it be that it is not a news item when an elderly person dies of exposure, but it is news when a stock market loses 2 points? Our readings this weekend point to the second coming of Christ, who will judge our virtue. As a boy, Pier Giorgio answered the door, and there stood a frail woman with a barefoot child. Pier Giorgio immediately removed his shoes and socks and gave them to her. You see, virtue is a reflex for doing good. Our virtue must extend beyond blind charity, though. When he was 17, Pier Giorgio joined the St. Vincent de Paul Society. He was assigned specific poor families to visit and offer both material and spiritual support. Pierre's niece said he would do everything for those poor families, carry their coal on his back, find men jobs, buy them shoes. Above all, he gave them himself. The option for the poor must include a personal encounter if we hope to see the face of Jesus in the least of his people. How did Mother Teresa come to serve the poorest of the poor in Calcutta, India? First, her own mother modeled this behavior by inviting the poor into their family home for dinner and conversation. Second, her motivation came from the 25th chapter of Matthew, where Jesus said that he was disguised in the poor. When asked why she loved the poor so much, Mother Teresa would take the person's hand and gently touch each finger, saying, "You did it to me." St. Vincent de Paul demonstrates that we not only need to serve the poor, but inspire others to help. The people he inspired founded hospitals, cared for needy families, provided relief for war victims, ransomed Christian slaves, and formed 2 religious orders. Blessed Frederick Ozanam was so inspired by St. Vincent's life that he formed the St. Vincent de Paul Society to visit and personally encourage the poor. Ozanam said, "Help honors, when to the bread that nourishes it adds the visit that consoles, advice that enlightens, the friendly handshake that lifts up fading courage. It esteems the poor man when it treats him with respect, not only as an equal, but as a superior, since he is suffering what perhaps we are incapable of suffering. After all, he is the messenger of God to us, sent to prove our justice and our charity." What St. Vincent de Paul, Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, and Mother Teresa teach us is that it is not enough to care for the poor. We need to know them. I'm excited to share with you an opportunity to do just that. The churches of Iron Mountain, Kingsford, Norway, and Vulcan have teamed up to operate a rotating homeless shelter called Light at the Inn, which starts this weekend and runs through March. Our parishes will participate for 1 week in January and another in March. We will host the homeless at St. Barbara's Rectory. Training will be offered to volunteers. See the bulletin insert for more details. We are in need of people to provide meals, to set up and clean, to make bag lunches, to work registration, and to be an overnight chaperone. I participated in a similar program for 2 years in Marquette. It was humbling to serve and to get to know the face of Christ within the homeless guest that we hosted. Our communion with the poor flows directly from our communion with Jesus in the Eucharist. Mother Teresa said, "If we recognize Jesus under the appearance of bread, we will have no difficulty recognizing him in the disguise of the suffering poor." And Pier Giorgio Frassati said, "Jesus comes to me every morning in communion, and I return the visit by going to serve the poor." Christ was homeless. Pope Francis said, "In Bethlehem, we can imagine what Joseph must have been thinking. How is it that the Son of Man has no home? Why are we homeless? Why don't we have housing?" This question echoes down to the present. Why are these brothers and sisters of ours homeless? And what am I going to do about it? Archbishop Charles Chaput reminds us, we can't preach the gospel and not live it.